All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Blackbird News, where everything is connected. Sorry, calling people for the abrupt introduction. I didn't have the audio on. The song was already playing, but thank you so much. Obsolete Optics starting off the show with a super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate you. It's a good way to start off the day. Hope you all are having a good day, enjoying your day, wherever you are. Also got a last minute or end of video or after hours tip from Denver Attaway from yesterday. Thank you, Denver, for the tip. I appreciate you. I'm going to have to end a little early today. So I'm going to dive right into it because we have a lot to cover. I don't know why. Geez, I have my links set up on the wrong date, but that's okay. Starting the day with too many tabs open anyways. Let's run through it, though. We're going to talk about Michael Shellenberger and how I feel like he is a tool on some level of the fossil fuel industry. It's very interesting that Elon Musk picked Michael Shellenberger to be one of the intrepid journalists that revealed the Twitter files. I find that extremely interesting. Because Michael Shellenberger is a strange cat, and I don't believe him. I don't think he's for real. He's like Tony Heller, but he literally is like Tony Heller. It would be like picking Tony Heller to be a journalist to reveal the Twitter files. I'd have to go like, what? So we're going to talk about Michael Shellenberger. And he posted something in response to Paul Ehrlich. Paul Ehrlich's appearance on 60 Minutes, which, they weren't like, yeah, this is totally happening. 60 Minutes was like, yeah, it's not true. He was wrong. And he's probably wrong. This is what he's saying, but, don't believe him necessarily. Oh, Shellenberger is definitely getting a paycheck from the fossil fuel industry. But I don't know. We're going to look at some things that are weird. We're going to look at a weird post from Michael Shellenberger. I'm going to pick it apart just a little bit. Actually, Poppy sent me this originally. Might as well get into it. Here, she says, let the denial begin. Michael Shellenberger. Maybe I should show you guys this. Matt Taibbi was one of the journalists that did the Twitter files, but so was Barry Weiss, so was Michael Shellenberger, was given some of the Twitter files to release. And I was like, that guy? Although you might see, I don't know, I think Elon Musk, we've seen Elon Musk say, we need more babies. And we need more capitalism, and we need to go to space, and we need, so where Elon Musk's head is at. So that might be why he picked Michael Shellenberger, because he sees So Michael Schellenberger is basically a tool of the industrial civilization and or the fossil fuel industries and or the growth paradigm and or right continuing business as usual. And so is Elon Musk. No, I haven't read the January 6th commission report. And I probably won't unless somebody has something. Does somebody have like a Cliff Notes or what's the send up of the January 6th commission report? I'm not really sure. Anyways, Elon Musk is a fan of industrial civilization and where humans are going. We need more mining. We need more cars and rockets and space rockets and fossil fuels and people. We need more people too. Where were we? Okay, Michael Schellenberger says on CBS 60 Minutes with Scott Pelley last night, Paul Ehrlich claimed humans are causing a sixth mass extinction, and that would require 5 Earths for all humans to enjoy a Western standard of living. But both claims are totally and utterly false. Why? Why are they? Michael Schellenberger. Well, it's interesting. I want to just look at the data that he gives. 10 years ago, a group of analysts and scientists, including the chief scientist for the Nature Conservancy, and I, debunked the claim that 5 Earths are required to sustain humanity. We did so in a peer-reviewed scientific journal. Whoa. Peer review doesn't necessarily mean the truth, but peer review is, has some weight behind it. I'm not going to read this whole thing because I wanted to point out some other weird, strange things. Well, let's just read this first. Does anybody else believe this peer-reviewed paper carries a lot of weight? I don't know. Despite its relative youth, less than 2 decades, the ecological footprint is a commonly used term in environmental science, policy discussions, and popular discourse. The motivation behind the concept is sound. We must account for and quantify the impacts of humanity on Earth's ecosystems if we are to manage the planet sustainably for the benefit of both human well-being and our natural heritage. The EF seeks to measure humanity's use of renewable biological resources, which can then be compared to the planet's capacity to regenerate these resources. The result of EF calculations that is quoted most widely is that humanity currently uses the equivalent of 1.5 Earths to support human needs. Therefore, we are already exceeding the planet's carrying capacity in what amounts to ecological overshoot. I mean, first of all, again, I'm not going to read this whole thing. Yes, Schellenberger loves nukes, right? Bella, bottom line, it was a conspiracy. Oh, right. I think I saw that. Conspiracy of whom, though? By whom? I wonder. I have questions about that. Judy Truitt says, according to Brett Weinstein, the peer review process has been corrupted. Well, if you can produce peer-reviewed papers that prove things that are false, then I guess it is corrupted, right? I mean, it's part of science, right? You put ideas out there, papers out there that get reviewed. They tell you what they think about this paper, etc. It doesn't necessarily mean like, well, this is the end all be all and this is absolutely the truth, right? A peer reviewed paper is just one in a line of pieces of data and evidence that people can look at. The thing is that I don't know, are there I haven't really seen a lot of scientists cite this paper. Have you? Have you seen a lot of scientists, quote Michael Schellenberger? Sounds like Schillenberger. It does, right? Denver Adway. That's fine. He has a peer-reviewed paper out saying that the ecological footprint idea is debunked, right? But that's the thing, is one paper, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that would be happy to cite this paper. One paper doesn't debunk, the whole of science, or the whole science around the ecological footprint. It's 10 years old, Poppy. The paper is 10 years old. It's one paper, 10-year-old paper. I don't see a lot of other scientists supporting this idea. I don't see a lot of other scientists quoting this paper. I don't see a lot of other scientists. It's probably mostly other anti-climate change, anti-alarmism, or the idea of climate change people who would go back and cite this paper, right? It fits in a space where people can go, look, there's a peer-reviewed paper on this. And we know, right, peer review doesn't necessarily mean that's the truth and it's a fact. It just means it made it into a journal. Again, it carries some weight, sure. But what's interesting about this, he does a thread here, and he cites this. He's citing these other quote unquote sources. This is a very Tony Heller thing to do, where he's citing sources, but what he's linking to is his own website, right? And he's taking. This is why I don't like screenshots on Twitter. People that take news stories and just screenshot them. I know links are problematic and blah, blah, blah. But man, oh man, if you could just link to the actual thing you're talking about, I would appreciate it. I would appreciate it from all journalists everywhere. Stop screenshotting the thing you're talking about and give me links. Or if you think, or screenshot it and then give a link down below. Right, in the next tweet or somewhere in the thread, put a link up, please. Don't just give screenshots of stuff. But the funny thing is, here, I'll give you the name of the paper. Thanks, Poppy. 61 citations is what the paper itself says. 61 citations. 239 saved. 2 discuss this paper, or discuss here. We have 2 here, comments and notes, 12 on Wikipedia, 689 on Twitter, 3 on Facebook. I can show you. Well, apparently he's a doctor of obsolete optics. But listen, the reason why I'm covering this is because I'm trying to show you what it is that these particular folks. Here's the title, Poppy, of the paper, if you can see it. I'm trying to show you what these folks kind of get into when they do these threads and show you this evidence, right? So here he puts up a series of graphs showing that, the ecological footprint or the biological destruction thing is bunk. But I want to show you what he cites to. All of these graphs are from a site called Environmental Progress. He also says, I have a source here. I've tried to go to the source and find these actual graphs. I could not find them. Now, maybe that's a problem with my searching skills. I messaged Michael Schellenberger, and I said, specifically to this graph here, I said, where is this from? Can you give me the link to the actual page on the IUCN website? The International Union for the Conservation of Nature. Can you give me a link to the actual page where this comes from? Because what he's citing is actually a website that I think is his website, which says the title, the top page of this website says, "Why climate alarmism hurts us all," which I think he has a book basically saying the same thing. The title is like, "Climate alarmism is bad and it hurts us and it's bad for people and you shouldn't." Right? Right. So there are obvious quantifiers, right? Billy Joe Schmo. There are, CO2 is at 417 parts per million. It's gone up 2 points every year the past decade. Continues to go up. Emissions continue to go up, right? I'll show you some other articles, but the meat consumption and the consumption of all resources is going up. Why? Because the population of the planet is going up. So all of these graphs, I just quickly want to show you all of these graphs that he's screenshotted and didn't give you a link for. So that's, journalism, professional. So he's giving you these graphs. He's not giving you, the only thing he gives a link to is his Substack, which basically says the same thing. And all of his Substack basically links to this website. All of these graphs are from this website. So how do you know that these graphs are correct? These graphs are not from the actual places that he is citing. He is just giving you some graphs and linking to his own website. And it all looks very scientific, and people will see this and go, oh, this is science. This is scientific. It is not scientific, dude. I don't know. Maybe I need to make another post and try and get at Michael Schellenberger, get him to respond to why it is this whole thread doesn't link to anything but his own website and his own Substack. And it's like, well, you're sourcing things here. But can you actually find these graphs from the source? If any of you can find these graphs from the source, let me know. Maybe I'm bad. Maybe I'm bad at looking up graphs. He's saying Zeke Hosfather quoted this. Is there a global emissions decline? I mean, he's saying global emissions are going downward. No. They went downward in 2020 because we had, a pandemic. He doesn't include 2021 or 2022 in this graph. That's pretty convenient. These graphs look hinky to me. These aren't correct anyways. He's saying global emissions, land use emissions, has gone down since 1960. And he's quoting Zeke Hosfather from Carbon Brief on this. I don't know. He's got graphs. He's got a lot of graphs, but no links for the graphs, right? Why not link to the actual site where you got this graph, sir? I don't know. I asked him. I don't know if I'll get a reply. Hold on one second. I mean, I'm looking at Carbon Brief right here, and it says, hold on. So it looks like here's a graph hold on one second. It says Zeke Hosfather, so this must be the article he's citing. I can find those other graphs, but here we go. I mean, global emissions went down, but we know why they went down. But look at the whole line says up. The whole line is going up. They went down, and then where are they going? Up again. So that was quite handy of him. Extremely handy to kind of chop this off. But, I mean, you know, is this proving something? Let's see if we can get a graph over here of the land use emissions. We got a land use emissions, global CO2 emissions. What is this? Land use change. So it looks like land use emissions are kind of flat, but it looks like they're down since 1960. So that may be fine. But he's leaving some other things. He's saying land use change. But total emissions are here, right? So he's leaving this out. I don't know if the land use change really means much, because here's another graph that actually supports a little more. Those graphs contradict one another exactly. But look at this. Here's actually more information on annual CO2 fluxes from land use change. So he didn't want to show this one, I guess. So in Indonesia there was a spike, but it looks like some heavy spikes, CO2 fluxes. But I mean, on the whole, it's going up. Brazil seems about flat, although they've gone up quite a bit and then come down a bit. The Democratic Republic of Congo is definitely going up. The Global Carbon Project finds that approximately half of global emissions from deforestation are counterbalanced by reforestation, while peat drainage and fires make a smaller contribution to emissions of around 0.8 gigatons of CO2. The apparent decline in the net land use emissions is likely driven by growing removals from reforestation. I mean, so we could see that as a positive. But does that mean we're the planet is saved? I don't know. Because there was that other graph where emissions were going up like this. So, I don't know. Okay. I guess his graphs are okay on this one, but I think he's being a little bit misleading on what all of this means. Because again, there's no link for this article. There's no link for these graphs, and all these graphs are from Environmental Progress, which is his website. I'm guessing it's his website. He's saying that the amount of land humankind uses to produce meat peaked in the year 2000. Since then, land use for livestock and pasture has decreased by an area of 80% the size of Alaska. That's a weird number. Okay. He's saying we're not sending animals to extinction. Oh, here's the big one, I guess. International Union for Conservation of Nature estimates that 3/4 of all species are not threatened. However, we've lost like 70% of wild animals since the 70s. So I get these, this is just a way to like confuse people about what's actually going on the planet. I find Michael Schellenberger to be extremely deceitful. But the fact that he's linking, I don't care that he has a Substack. I mean, lots of people have Substacks. That's fine. I have a problem that he's linking to his own website. I have a problem that he's linking these graphs to his own website instead of the actual places. He is citing a source, which is fine. Great. I appreciate you citing your source. I had a really hard time finding these graphs and these charts. But when you link it to your own website that couches the graphs and the information in your own explanation of it, I guess. Right? Because if you were linking to the actual source, you'd be getting the source information, but you'd be getting the context. Right? Like I just showed you the graph that showed land use changes, which was, it's down but somewhat flat, but emissions on the whole, like this. That's context. And so he's trying to apply his own context to it, which I think is just, again, there's no links to the sources at all. There's only, his website and his Substack. And Elon Musk says, absolutely. Elon Musk is like, yeah, Paul Ehrlich doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay. Right. Source, Ice Age Farmer and Tony Heller. Right. I mean, it's like, that's a typical Tony Heller move, is to link to his, a denialist website, with charts and graphs, and you don't know where they come from, and you're not really sure. And is anybody going to really go? That's my other problem, is that nobody's taking the time to go through this thread and really like search out what it is he's saying, or what it is where these graphs came from, or what sites are particular sites are talking about. So you're gonna miss a whole lot of context. And Elon Musk is a cheerleader. I guess this is why he chose Michael Schellenberger to release some of the Twitter files, because he's in the Michael Schellenberger camp. There ain't nothing wrong with what humans are doing, and we're all fine, and we're all going to go to Mars. Do you think Elon Musk really cares about the planet? If you have, Elon Musk is a cheerleader for us going to Mars. So do you think he's really concerned about saving the planet that we actually already live on? Oh, thank you, Poppy. The Schellenberger article is an opinion piece, a perspective published in PLOS, not a study, therefore not peer-reviewed at all? Thanks. Well, I didn't see that part. Perspective. I see. Oh, here it is. It says perspective. The perspective section provides experts with a forum to comment on topical or controversial issues of broad interest. So this is not peer-reviewed. Great. Hold on one second. Does it mean that it's not peer-reviewed? Provides experts with a forum to comment on topical or controversial issues. So it's not even peer reviewed. Is that right? Sorry, just looking at this. That's awesome, Poppy. Thank you for that. That's awesome. I'm trying to look. I'm trying to look on the link to. Does this mean that it is not peer reviewed because it's perspective, or is it just a? It's just an opinion piece. Where did you get that part, Poppy? Help me out. Billy Joe Smosh said, "I stopped playing with the Tony Heller folks when they seem so ridiculous and easily disproven. Turns out to be a waste of time." Yeah, I mean the reason why I do this is because if somebody wanders in, there are people that wander in here, climate change. I don't know, just hang out, and watch the show. I'll go through why some of these people should not be listened to. I've already, I've done some videos on Tony Heller. There are people that have done, way better dismantlings of Tony Heller, but I mean, it's easily, provably deceitful information. Poppy Davis says peer review looks at methodology, data, etc. of a study. Thank you for pointing that out, Poppy. I appreciate that. It's at the very top. So it's basically an article, an opinion piece, which is the same as his Substack and the same as his website. And I think what he's doing, he's very good at trying to take the context out of the things that he's citing. He is citing certain things and taking them out of context. He's really good at that. Stupid, that's good. We'll talk about that too. Las Vegas bookmakers have a spread for the over-under on how many players will collapse during the Super Bowl. That was pretty wild, right? I mean, I wasn't watching the game, but I heard all about it. Anyways, that was briefly, just want to break that down. That Michael Schellenberger is full of shit. He's not an honest actor. He's not an honest player. He's not really trying to give you. He's not really citing his sources. He's citing his sources by saying, "Here's my source," but he doesn't want to really link to it. He does a better job in this opinion piece in the Journal. Somewhat. There's some he leaves out the link to, right? So it's interesting. You go down to his citing his sources. He's left out the link to some of them. He's giving you his source, but there's no link. There's quite a few in here that he didn't give a link to. I'm guessing because he really wants you to do, work a lot. Well, all of the top sources are no link. And he gives a link to a commentary on the utility of the ecological footprint. So I'm guessing that he's giving links to things that support his viewpoint and not giving links to things that don't necessarily support us, right? Anyways. But that's Michael Schellenberger, who should not be listened to. He's not a journalist. He's a mouthpiece of the fossil fuel industry, and he's not an honest player. Is he even a doctor? Who knows? Who knows if he's even a doctor? Because he tends to be, misrepresent what he's talking about. Well, that's what I wonder, John Glad, about that football player, right? And a lot of people said, that happened. A lot of people were like, what? Happened on national television, live on national television. Tony Heller is a very famous climate denier. And he puts out all these videos and all these articles. And we talked about him a few weeks ago. He's a geologist. And who do geologists work for? The oil and gas industry, right? Because geologists get hired by the oil and gas industry. Why? Because they're looking for oil. He's also, mouthpiece of the nuke industry as well. Poppy Davis says, I can tell you this article received lots of positive coverage by the mainstream media when it came out in 2019. Sure, I'm sure it did. But I can tell you that there are no climate scientists referring to this article. Nobody's pointing to this and going, see? Very interesting. All right, let's leave Michael Schellenberger. From Doomer Girl News. Hot take. Humanity is already close to being functionally extinct. Very few can live outside of captivity. That's a great take. Scott Andrews says, remove the words close to being from your hot take and you've nailed it. If you cannot... Yes. All of that. You can't live outside of captivity. You can't live outside of the machine that sustains you. If the machine stopped running, it would be over for a lot of people. That's another thing missing from Michael Schellenberger's, whole scheme. If the machine broke down even halfway, a lot of people wouldn't even make it. There's some overshoot for you. Phantomus, this is interesting. Early in my career, I consulted for Coke. To ensure sugar taxes failed and soda was included in food stamp funding. I say Coke's policies are evil because I saw inside the room. The first step in the playbook was paying the NAACP and other civil rights groups to call opponents racist. Wow. What the heck? That's wild. Coke gave millions to the NAACP and the Hispanic Federation, both directly and through front groups like American Beverage Association. This picked up in 2011-2013 when the Farm Bill and soda taxes were under consideration. Wow. The conversations inside these rooms was just depressingly transactional. We, Coke, will give you money. You need to paint opponents of us as racist. That is wild. Again, take this at face value. The effort. This is somebody just saying, here's what I saw when I worked in this industry. The effort was successful and the message was carried in thousands of articles between 2011 and 2013. Coke's position was clear. Soda is one of the cheapest ways to get calories, a flagrantly inaccurate statement when factoring in health consequences. Right. I watched as the FDA funneled money to professors at leading universities, as well as think tanks on the left and right, to create studies showing soda taxes hurt the poor. They also paid for studies. They paid for studies, right? Peer-reviewed. Peer-reviewed. They paid for studies that say drinking soda didn't cause obesity. Of course, not mentioned in these studies is that incontrovertible fact that sugary drinks are one of the top causes of obesity and diabetes, leading to harrowing statistics like this. The number of people under age 20 with type 2 diabetes in the U.S. may increase nearly 675% by 2060. Trends continue. That's even if we make it to 2060. Soda companies are deeply embedded in the USDA, so much so that the agency carries discredited talking points like, there are no bad food, only bad diets. This ignores the fact that sugar is highly addictive and has negative nutritional value. We can talk about other things that are in food too, right? Like corn syrups. Seed oils are getting a lot of attention these days. All the additives, preservatives, the pesticides that make it into your food, even though they're not supposed to, or they're not supposed to really cause any problems, or so we're told. Yeah, look, quickly. Well, guys, actually, I got to go. I have to end the show a little early today, and I apologize. But did everybody hear what happened to the football player on Monday Night Football? Played for the Bills. Damar, I think his name was. I don't know. I don't follow football, so. What was his name? Damar Hamlin. He's alive. He's 24 years old. 24 years old. Collapsed on the field. And taken all together with all the other athletes, especially soccer players in Europe, this has been happening a lot, who have been collapsing. A lot of young, healthy, super healthy, fit people are collapsing. And people are like, why is this happening? And people have questions about this. And they should. They should have questions about this. And we'll see what the messaging is around this. People were very, very shocked by this. I saw there was a big social media reaction to this on all my social media. People were like, whoa, that was crazy. And I hope I hope the conversation goes into better places around this. We'll talk about this some more tomorrow. Guys, I have to take off. I apologize. I've got to leave a little early today. Let's check before I go the Rockfin tips. No tips on Rockfin as of yet today, but that's a really good way to support the show. Have not received any tips on Buy Me a Coffee as of yet today. Did get a nice super chat at the beginning of the show from Obsolete. Thank you for that. I'll leave you all with this is my Buy Me a Coffee address. But thank you guys for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. I'll see you tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. And until next time, peace.